LeBlanc as a primary carry already started to gain traction towards the second half of the last patch, and now with the buffs to adjacent units in the line has definitely skyrocketed as one of the top meta lines. However, it's important to understand what truly enables it to succeed and how it can go toe to toe with the top meta comps even without that Sherpherd emblem. Therefore, for today, we're first going to take a quick look at the line and then do a VOD review from the regionals. The key for this comp is strong itemization and frontline and combat augments. As such, it is quite common to see this line being played from the loss streak in order to guarantee your components. LeBlanc definitely wants that Rage Blade, and what truly enables her is having that Death Cap and Giant Slayer. Archangels is a fine substitute. Sometimes you might have to settle also for a Jeweled Gauntlet. LeBlanc loves attack speed, therefore Giant Slayer is going to be very strong, and then a raw AP onto her. Also, as you might note, in this version, at the cap, we are not playing Arbiter. However, good scaling Arbiter such as 3 attacks is going to be the best, followed by 4 seconds or 15 mana spent. AP into attack speed are good options, and you can flex around this Zoe or a Leona as the Sona and Blitzcrank spots are flexible on level 8. However, there you definitely want to be playing 5 Sherpherd. That's going to help you stabilize the front line, especially as Morgana is becoming more and more of a hot unit in the meta. Your duo carry until you make it to that Sona 2 is generally going to be Zoe and Karma. Karma with some mana gen and holding onto that utility is going to be quite strong. And as you can already see, we are overlapping a lot of rods, bows, tears, and even belts, as Warmogs is a very strong item for Morgana. She has that raw HP scaling and also loves having, for example, Protector's Bow or Crown Guard. Those are some great items for her. That is the reason why playing from a loss streak is going to be quite appealing oftentimes. If you have a spot up tempo, definitely go for a tempo play. If you have something like a Rage Blade opener, it can work out, but you're going to be having to sacrifice some of that item quality for early game tempo. Therefore, evaluate your lobby, see if it's playing more on the weaker side, and you can play for a safe top 4 from that kind of a spot. Also, you want to be checking your Arbiter as soon as you possibly can. See if that is something you can play on level 8. If not, just play 5 Sherpherd and some Vanguards and this Morgana, get them online and try to hard stabilize on level 8. If you're able to get a strong frontline online, your LeBlanc is definitely going to be able to outscale the second half of the rounds and pick up wins for you that way. If you are in an extreme high roll spot, you still have the possibility as general to transition this board into Vex primary carry, but it's no longer the case. Find Vex 1 and toss her over in LeBlanc. You want to be getting to that Vex 2, and you definitely also want to have that Rage Blade for Vex. Still noting on the tempo game plan, playing around a Leona print is one of the prominent ways how to do so. If you have something like a Diana Orb with a Rage Blade and the 3 attack Arbiter, or you can toss it onto that Zoe and also have one of those 3 attacks, 4 seconds, 15 mana spent, utilize this Leona 3 as a tempo option, then you can also consider playing into something like a 4 Vanguard core, but Morgana has showing more and more potential as being now one of the best tanks in the meta. Therefore, this variant just seems to be performing better and has a neat way to slot in these 5 Sherpherd for you. And on level 9, you can just toss in Pike or Mighty Mech for an extra Voyager. Pike, if you have a good psionic item, is just another free item, since you might be investing in some of those combat augments or econ options in order to spike on stage 4. Artifacts, there are a few decent ones. Blighting Jewel particularly is just overstated and can synergize quite decently with LeBlanc. Same goes for Shiv, or then just any form of frontline artifacts. However, I would not be generally investing my augment selection unless I'm in a spot where I can capitalize on its tempo early on. Emblems, obviously 7 Sherpherd is a worthwhile chase if you're able to get there. Arbiter, if it's a good Arbiter on this final board, you can get it online for free. Voyager, best emblem in game, nothing much to say about that. Psionic can help you have that Mighty Meg, get more frontline online and get that free item nonetheless. And with a Vanguard emblem, you can toss it on a Morgana, she's going to love that AP, or on the backliner for an AP, and also going to synergize with your Voyager shields. And then just consider playing around 4 Vanguard as your final cap board. As I already mentioned, if you're in a spot to be picking up strong combat augments, we are definitely want to be considering that as an option. Boxing Lessons, Hold the Line, Second Wind, all are great. Jeweled Lotus, once you make it to the high cap, is going to have immense value. Earth's Gambit, you can lose the round, get that Frying Pan, and get the Sherpherd emblem. Otherwise, econ augments that are going to allow you to spike very hard on stage 4 and hopefully win out the rest of the stage, as well as picking up some rounds on stage 5 and then make it to that level 9 to get to this cap with Sona and Blitz are great. Or item augments, specifically ones that are going to give you AP items, continuous conjuration, wand overflow, staff smith, all are good. And a shout out also goes to this bronze for life board. I'm not exactly sure how to rate it in combat power wise, but if you see that lobby perhaps might be heavily contesting Morgana, also Nunu which can slot in right here, but the Rammus is somehow a little bit more free, picking up bronze for life is a possibility, and you can be playing in a board like this. For your god selections, Ahri is great, giving even more raw AP to your LeBlanc, as well as allowing you to push those levels. Kayle for your items, especially if you are playing from a tempo spot, is going to be good. Yasuo, for example, the Solar Hex is quite strong, and Thresh generally having the highest potential cap with that late game scaling. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below, and now let's jump in our VOD review. For our VOD review, we're going to be jumping in game with Prestivent from day 1 of regionals. Our gods for the game are going to be Ahri and Thresh, playing in a 2-cost start, and our Stargazer is the Boar, as the psionic item is Drone Uplink. So already starting out here with a couple of time breakers, definitely something that we can consider playing around. Just generating extra resources, looking for a big spike, but we do also have the Primordian pair as well as the Leona pair to possibly hold on to. Instead is going to opt to hold on to the Lissandra. Lissandra leading down many of these lines, having the Sherpherd unit is quite good, and without knowing Arbiter, we might not be leading playing around that Vanguard frontline as much, as it pretty much locks you in right away into this LeBlanc line currently in the meta, as well as us not having that Rod seen before. We didn't see that we had that Rod. Quite tough a decision, and here we definitely want to be holding on to this Bel'Veth. Talon is a nice pair to be playing around. Talon 2 still a menace in the earlier parts of the game. We do not have the strongest of the openers at the moment from our gauge, apart from, I believe, this Primordian line right here, but with the Rod it's also a little tricky. Therefore, probably not holding on to the strongest of the units and opting to hold on to these these Timebreaker units instead. Let's see what our augment selection offers for ourselves. Heat Death is fun augment to play around, but unfortunately this is going to be your tempo into the top 4. We do not have the strongest of the board around it. You would definitely want something like a Zoe to be playing around right away. Heroic Grab Bag, I am not the biggest fan of it on 2-1, more appealing on 3-2 and 4-2. On 2-1 generally would look to be just slamming it on a 3 cost and trying to tempo off from it. However, if you wanted to lock in that Jinx direction, the Primordian Jinx from this kind of spot, we could, but we do not have bobs, we do not have swords, so our itemization would be quite tricky. Therefore, savings account is quite appealing. We have the Primordian to generate extra resources, we have potential to get these time breakers online, something that I would be definitely more leaning towards to as my default option right here. He opts to instead, because considering Heroic Grab Bag here, we haven't even done this lobby scout around the lobby, so perhaps his read is just that the Jinx line can be so strong, even if you do not have that many bows or swords. I believe the comp can utilize quite a lot of bow, sword, glove, and with the Rod, it has to pretty much become a frontline item for you. It's an interesting take. Warpath. This is an augment, as in the words of this shop. You're just saying that you think that the rest of the lobby is bad, and it's quite hard to do so in the regionals to pull it off. Prestivent obviously skilled enough to maybe able to pull it off, but you would be taking this in a tournament setting when you definitely need to be going for a first place. Pandora's items, generally you want to utilize it to accelerate your tempo slams, and from this kind of a spot for reroll, it's quite appealing for ourselves, is because we can just rid of this Rod and maybe then we have the potential to spike the board with these Primordians and play around. Epoch though, generic, econ, augment. Again, our opener is not the strongest to maybe capitalize on these extra components right away, even though we have some of these pairs. This is more safe of a choice, and with other econ augments have been brought down over the set, it's become quite decent of an option, and is also going to nicely play into potential for the reroll for ourselves. We're going to utilize also these extra free rerolls. We can see that's also probably another reason why he opted to do so, is just get these free rerolls and see if we can hit some of these pairs, makes together a strong board, and we definitely have a decent of a board lined up for ourselves right now. Well spotted, and it's something that we are seeing more and more these top players do, is utilizing some of these free rerolls on 2-1 to establish their direction, and something that you generally see the top players do more than, for example, your average ladder player is actually making use of rolls, identifying these spots when they should be rolling once or twice just to capitalize on their tempo, not to fall back from too far behind, and seeing if they can make any strong plays of that. We're going to opt to immediately go for this, also the Striker's Flare Slam right here. Perhaps a little bit of a subpar item to just be pairing as it's a standalone, especially since you're killing off the glove and then you want some kind of a source of a crit to purely capitalize on this augment, unless you're going to be playing around Fate Weavers, which I do not think we're going from this kind of a spot unless we somehow see this is a quirky angle. Fine item of Master E is nonetheless as well. As long as you're learning that Akali for a while and afterwards, you know, if you tempoed up from it, you're quite fine. But we have the drone uplink as our psionic item, so I do not think we're going to be considering Master E from this spot. And we see there's a couple of players that are quite weak, so it's quite neat for us to be picking together here a 3 streak. Quite fortunate on the matchmaking, and this has bought us enough time to see if we can potentially improve our board. We have also picked up some of the... We are still holding on to these AP units on the board. You can see he's... Just quickly rewind here, we're heavily investing our econ. I don't think we could have made an econ threshold maybe just right now, but we're still holding onto these shepherds here as a potential since we have this free rod. So sometimes players just, he's going to clear my mind, sell off these units. No, we're seeing this can still be a potential out from us. We're just playing this for econ generation and being vigilant about it. 4 free rerolls would be nice if we are looking for some kind of 3-2 spike around the reroll variant, but again with this rod he's starting to signal here that we're more considering potential into leaning into AP. Therefore Thresh's random boon seems more appealing, guaranteed 2 gold. We are low on gold, so this could help us hit that next econ threshold and has a higher upside. Generally aligning with Thresh is going to be quite good. We pick up a Belveth too, so now we have definitely managed to string together a quite strong board, especially if you're able to 2-star this Briar, maybe push levels, slot in that Talon, that we're going to be quite strong in all aspects. We find a talent too, so yeah, I believe that we're going to be leveling here. We do get, I believe this would be the HP scaling hex. That is something that is, yeah, HP scaling hex right here. This is absolutely insane for your reroll variants. Your units just become, for example, your this is Rek'Sai here could become a 1.5 cost, even 2 cost if she's scaling all the way from here. Whenever you see that Yasuo, but you see that this Phoenixia here, right here, is playing around the treasure hunt at absolutely prime reroll augment, and we're also holding on to these meeples, so we're quite okay. We're giving up on them now, but we were quite wide open for a lot of potential ideas here to be how we want to be playing around this lobby. Degree here with the booster pack. Let me see. There's a couple of players maybe considering even playing around Veigar. Greya here with early learnings. This was saying in last patch, but still should be quite alright at the moment. If you're able to tempo, I won't say, if you're able to get to the max cap, this comp is absolutely insane. If you're able to get to that Sona too, the weak part is how long you're going to have to spend on 7 people. How long you're going to need to be printing these units, playing a weaker board, rebounding your eco. You definitely want to be playing from a very high tempo spot. And hoping to natural some of these copies. Maybe even utilize some of these free rolls sometimes in situations when you get on level 3 or level 4 to just pump some of these units. We have managed to complete our 5 streak. Our slams here, are we going to go for a Crown Guard slam? Protector as well would be a more generic slam. Still, we're quite open in all directions we're playing. If we have not seen our Arbiter, so even from this spot, considering LeBlanc would be quite tough. We have a free rod if we wanted to perhaps maybe play into LeBlanc. We have the potential for that Rage Blade, but then we definitely would have wanted to save another rod to drastically improve our item situation, and Protector's Vow is quite good, and we're gonna have our Crown Guard is obviously a little bit stronger even in that aspect. Next selection on the roll, amazing for your reroll comps. Compared to something for rolling of days, you need to be upgrading at least 5 units in this spot for it to be, well, perhaps even less. Well, I say 5 because of the 6 gold we are getting tacked on. It's a little tricky to explain. That's more of a feels craft thing. Obviously in free roll value it's 10. Second window, we are on our streak just got broken. However, we still have a potential for a strong front line, and if you wanted to keep pushing tempo, this would be the best option. Branching out on 3-2 does come with a Reforger, and it could help us establish direction, so we could justify this is also another potential item for any of our units. He's definitely not going to be playing in the reroll variant though, as we saw that there was a player already playing Phoenixia there with the treasure hunt playing into it. Charge transfer is great for something like your Twisted Fates and like the Gragas, where you can have that overkill. LeBlanc is not one of those. Band of Thieves is a prime tempo augment, and later on in many of these comps we have, if you're playing as something like a Blitzcrank cap, this can transition. Just items are generally, especially when you have less units on the board, are going to be more valuable than having a combat augment. However, we are playing fast 8 boarding. He seems to have a clear game plan. He's going to value settlement. It's a very strong combat token. And this is insane what just happened. We high roll that Morgana. Now we are definitely, I believe, he's thinking of playing into some form of a AP flex kind of a board. We still have not checked our Arbiter. Now we have picked up our first unit from that Diana right there, but it is insane to high roll this Morgana because we're going to get her stacking with this HP already on 3-2, and this is pretty much, well, as early you could ask for a 4 cost to start stacking, right? Find an MF, so that's just going to be a stronger unit than the Diana. But I'm interested to see how we're going to work out our itemization. We have a Striker spell, which is fine of a damage item, but it's not one of these prime items, right? I talked about how you definitely want to have Rageblade plus Death Cap and a Giant Slayer ideally for this LeBlanc to truly succeed. She loves attack speed, therefore Giant Slayer has a lot of value. And then the raw AP from the Death Cap, but we have killed an extra rod. We have not seen any bows yet either for ourselves, so this is sometimes you have what you pay for playing around the tempo opener. You simply do not have the exact components. For ourselves right now, we're going to value Mystery Loot more than 8 XP. 8 XP, we are pushing levels, so it's obviously going to have the value, but this is the best when you're going to be pushing level 7 from this kind of a spot. And he seems he might want to be considering that as an option now. We miss an hour component again. I would just be taking a rod here. At this point, I would be probably taking a rod, but Jeweled Gauntlet is also appealing. Maybe play around something like a Karma Carry, then utilize this open tier for a free slot. Or we can just pick up here a Belt that can transition into a Warmogs or a Morellos. You can see there's so many rods, and when you kill a rod on a Crown Guard, this can be quite up. And instead he's going to still go for this maximum tempo play of slamming Spirit Visage. He's going to respect the tempo of the lobby. We can see we have a reroll in our board. Okay, we queue into the wide, it's open. But a lot of tempo has gotten out in this lobby. A lot of players are very strong boards, and he's just wanting to preserve as many lives he possibly can. He believes that he's not playing for a first potentially from this kind of a spot, even though we have that high roll of Morgana going onto this Cosmic Hex right away. You can also see what he has planned in his board. He has the Nami, which is also an interesting take on what a potential duo carry you could be having. Maybe he's more leaning towards some kind of AP flex board from this kind of a spot. Since we have that Striker spell, we would be playing that with Jeweled Gauntlet, and that is something, a nice combo to be going onto that Nami, but we do not have a mana generating item for her either. Also, Aesol is a possibility with this kind of itemization, but then again, you want something like a Death Cap. So this Tempo Slam... It has managed to preserve us alive, and the Crown Morgana absolutely loves Crown Guard. If I had to pick up one item just purely based on her stat scaling, then the Crown Guard is the best one. But it's rough. Nonetheless, we have managed to pick up 3 rounds here, so we're in a very commanding spot. A little bit too poor perhaps to consider a fast 9 from this kind of a spot, and also our itemization. We need some kind of mana items. We do get one of these bows, but then we have a declaw, so we're going to value it. Is the lobby quite heavy on AP? Spotted at least a couple of AD players, so, but if you want to kill down components, we just have to go with it. So yeah, he's going to be slamming it. We have this Nami lined up. We have picked up a Karma, so this is looking like a Karma Nami flex, if anything, from this kind of a spot, playing around the Shepherds, holding on, even opting to make that Teemo 2 as a potential Shepherd unit to hold on to for a while, because we even haven't seen a... Ilaoi right there. So let's see, how do we even end up into this LeBlanc line right now? Do pick up a loss, 68 HP, and if we are playing a little bit of lower cap line, we definitely want to be spiking and picking up our rounds right here. So Reinforcement is quite appealing. It's the augment that you pick up when your econ is mid, but you want to be utilizing this and spiking your board heavily onto this turn. It's just not worth. Obviously, you can pick a situation with chasing a 3-star forecast that has fallen out of the meta, but the trade-off of this augment is just you're spiking right away. Best friends with the recent change is quite good, but if you're running so many frontline units such as you are in the Sherpherd unit board, sometimes it can be quite tricky to split up your units as you want. Kahuna is utilizable in only a few comps in the game. Master Yi, Jinx is actually also quite fine if you pair it with something like a Deathblade. Zaya, I'm not too excited about it in my opinion, but some people read it as quite decent. Ascension also a decent combat option, would prefer it over Best Friends. If we're able to get that frontline rolling, we have a 2 item Morgana, 2.5, three item Morgana, right? So this is quite appealing if we are lacking a damage amp part, but we have the Striker's Flail, so you have a little bit of stat overflop right there, and you still need a mana item, so items or Econ would be quite fine right here in my opinion, but we're not seeing them. May the Force be with you is for your whenever you need the cheese illusion. He's not going to be taking, he needs the Jeweled Lotus right there. He's actually going to synergize, and we're going to be immediately picking up a LeBlanc 2 from our shop, so this is how we end up into this LeBlanc line. Well, since we had slammed that Rageblade, maybe his game plan was all along. Whenever he made that slam, he was like, alright, I'm just going to be playing in a LeBlanc without an Arbiter. So this could also be an interesting take to see how, because you see the final board does not even run Arbiter. Therefore, we're just going to be slotting in this Nunu for our Vanguard slot right now and going to be playing around. It's still opting to hold on to these Namis. Okay, give it up now. I'm playing around these 5 Shepherd with a team of filling in the slot. Definitely going to hold together our front line. We can see Morgana 2 out of the pool already. Morgana is becoming more and more favorable. You see also Ripple here playing around the Morgana. So this 5 Shepherd is going to be essentially holding down our front line right now. And if we didn't have that Cosmic Exilawi 2 can be a completely fine tank for ourselves. Yet Degree here in that Zaya board flexing around the Morgana. Perhaps got something like a couple of copy or something from the booster pack himself. And we're going to be still be able to, only with a couple of items, since we have this strong frontline presence also through second win, and we have the Jeweled Lotus to buff up our damage compartment. With the augment is going to scale with more items, we're going to get in more units. We have just enough combat power right here. Now 10 gold versus Roll the Bones. Roll the Bones about 10.5 gold on average, so you're just going to rip that if you if the choice does not matter for you. But for us, it's going to matter which god we're going to line ourselves with. I still believe the Trash to be the highest potential, highest cap, and I think that's going to be the case. But he's going to be going with Ari instead, which is contrary. We can see isn't even the alignment in the lobby. 5 players opting to go with that Trash. Maybe falling a little bit out of favor from the read, because before I would see just the whole lobby align themselves with Trash. But he's going to value here. We are in a, if we are able to hold, we have picked up these 2 rounds, and we're seeing that maybe with this little bit of boost from Mario we can make it to level 9. That's going to bridge the gap in immediate AP and AD we're getting from our Blessing. And our LeBlanc is currently missing some of that AP, and Thresh is, well, he has the potential to high roll attack speed, which also is going to LeBlanc love, but perhaps we're simply seeing we want more AP into this LeBlanc unit, and we can make it to level 9 to try to cap higher a little bit with this Ari, and potentially prevent any low rolls. Our final matchup here of the stage, we might be placing a quite strong player, but if you see Koala here with the Nova reload from Roar to Wait, has not really seemed to have worked out. This is a comp more centered around Aatrox, but he's going to absolutely melt us. He just cannot get through this Aatrox. The board stand comes in and has made it to that Corki too, so how's that actual real duo carry? He's instantly going to rip this as he still need the Void stuff, so he's not going to even wander, and this also allows us to complete that Sunfire. Nice pickup right there, immediately sort out our utility. Now this is a crooked LeBlanc build. This is the price you pay from playing from a tempo spot, but I thought it's interesting to look at this game nonetheless, as this was a well executed tempo, but not obviously playing from a low streak. You're going to get you just roll for very specific, very niche board, have your items sorted out. Let's see how he manages to fare is in these higher tempo lobbies against the top players. Our front line is still quite fragile despite having the second win. Now on stage 5, this might have been a fine stage 4 front line, but now with 1 stars on stage 5, we are going to get severely punished. This Cho is just going to absolutely rip in our front line, even with a declaw and it seems that they do not have that much backline presence, right? Lissandra, okay, they ran out of juice right there. Phoenixia ran out of juice right there. It seems to have gotten a bullied off from this treasure hunt kind of a board with so many players rerolling right there, and or the item is just not working out. But nonetheless, they just simply lacked the damage compartment, so that we got that scaling in the end, but it's still a very close fight. Now against Degree, who has that still Morgana too, holding on to it, not pivoting into the new news or Tom Kench says, let's see, the copies wanting to make it to level 9. We're going to be easily picking up a win against him. And now we are on level 9 of our own. Okay, I think we went last round, right? But we picked up that Blitzcrank right there, picking up the Alawi, just going to transition the Warmogs as Blitzcrank. Obviously, if it was like a Crown Guard, for example, if we wanted to move that out, that's fine on the Blitzcrank. But simply having our anti-heal live for long enough is going to be strong. The round is a Meg board with a double cap. Does not have the best itemization on there, but the ASOL is going to get scaling, so this is going to be a ramp fight, and still we are very, very close. Perhaps the econ, we can see this is the combat augments paying the dividend right here in this fight. The player has opted to go for pretty much full econ with a couple of components from this duo queue, but nonetheless, these combat augments are pushing up the fight. The second win, the Jeweled Lotus right there, getting even more power in ourselves, and now we're able to pick up. Now we check our Arbiter, gaining attack speed right there. Not going to consider that worthwhile. Check the TG, going to slot that onto the Karma instead as she's upgraded. Since we do not have that Sona, not going to go the Pike, but still hoping to make 30 here. I think the investment of just 1 gold for hold on to this Pike, if we find that Sona might be worthwhile, as we still have quite a lot of units to itemize, and we're definitely going to make it to the Dragon. Against, this was the Shaco's board here. The gameplay hasn't worked out. This is sometimes what happens, and they're capitalizing on the fact that when all these players played so high of a tempo, we were just, even with players are playing quite high tempo, some of their game plans didn't work out, and we managed to string together a board who fits the items. Even though they're not the best, we're still able to go for there and secure some placements. And sometimes in these lobbies, the players just do not have the strongest of, not all of them convert, and you are able to place quite high, even higher than top 4 against Cheng Shen Li here with another Zaya player, another that has just stuck on Jin 1, and this frontline contest in many directions, but Shaco 2 has managed to pick up Jin 2 right now, and we're still sitting here on this Morgana 1. This second win is definitely working overtime, and we are opting to consider a potential to go for level 10 here. Since we managed to streak, I was dissing this frontline for just being too weak for stage 5, but it seems to have been just enough, and this is how the top players gain the read. They read the lobby, and yeah, sometimes in general this might not be the strongest of the front lines you would want, but in this specific case, in this specific lobby, it was enough with only a couple of players being able to stand up against us, and the close fights that we won were masterfully executed. We are clearing Rippled Overdrive here, and now we're going to be in the Riot Special, 2 players alive, 2 players streaking against Greya. Shaco also went down, and we're facing this Veigar board that has also played around that Ahri. We can see all the Thresh players, they just didn't get to the scaling. This is stage 6 is where the Thresh truly comes, have been stacked up for long enough. So let's see how we fare against this. Is early learning, so every round this is going to go on. This is going to be even stronger. Blitzcrank did make it to the backline, and we managed to do nicely with the swap on the last second to get away from the Rammus right there. We were able to pick up a win here and get onto their backline, but are we going to be able to repeat it? Going to, I assume, move this Void Staff off. Yeah, move the Void Staff off. Just getting more concentrated damage into this LeBlanc, as we do not have one of these prime items, Giant Slayer or Death Cap. Again, managed to get the last second swap here. Is this going to be the difference maker? The only worrying part is that our Blitzcrank is not on this Rammus, but now the fight, it looks completely different. They have seemed to pick up a Sona 2. And that is starting to make a difference, maybe also in the Sona mode that we got. We have opted to just slot in the Voyagers and Rast right now. Rast also quite nice. We are wanting more attack speed. LeBlanc just simply loves more attack speed, and Rast, if you're able to get to this level 10, yeah, why not just toss him in and help your frontline survive as well. Now this is a 3-item Sonan right now. Now we're also starting into this Rammus, but the Blitzcrank did get his ult on him. Nonetheless, early learnings, the scaling has kicked in, the Sona 2 is right there. We are looking to be most likely losing out here. We cannot find a Sona 2 of our own, and our itemization is not the best, and they have pretty much abyss items. He's going to try to do some nice positioning to get this Morgana, since we had to place her in the middle with the Cosmic Hex in the middle. Just if she can draw enough aggro and live long enough, however, that's going to reduce the durability on the rest of our board. We're starting onto the Veigar. We did get on the Veigar, but simply too many threats on the opposite side, and we're going to be losing the fight right there. But very interesting to see how Prestivent managed in this high tempo lobby invest his early item slams in order to still streak and then still figure out a way with suboptimal items how we can be playing for a strong placement, then recognizing, hey, the lobby has paid its tax for playing so high of a tempo early. I managed to keep up with them and still exit with quite a lot of HP. It's fine if I even maybe lose a couple of rounds here, but do the fortunate matchmaking, manage to streak all of the stage 5 and make it to this very high cap, and then just, we're going to lose a player with the best setup that had managed to hire all his way there, but the rest we were still able to win out against, and still showing off that even from a win streak spot and sometimes investing some of these crucial components, you can still secure good placements. I would like to thank you for watching. The cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.